I guess I'm excited, and I know you are because you've been calling me even before the show aired. He is here, none other than Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for inviting me on your 200th show.
Yes. And I have to say, this is the 200th show on Mohammedan Friends, which is the most important, the principal show that we have. And I certainly am honored that you are my guest. I can't think of a better guest that I could have.
Thank you.
You know, Reverend Minister, some people have been, acknowledging the Nation of Islam and its role in the political, work that has been done in the last election. President Stroger publicly, thank you. Jesse White, Secretary of State, who told me personally that he thanks you. So how do you feel about a few of these mainstream politicians acknowledging the fact that you had some participation?
Well, as you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that we should elect our own candidates, and he said that the best candidate would probably be a Muslim candidate, but until we have Muslims running for public office, we have to support those persons who are in the best interest of our community. When I made a statement on Meet the Press about the Democratic and Republican parties, that the Democratic Party had betrayed the aspirations of the poor and the black and the Hispanic, and the Republican Party didn't give a damn. Well, you know, all politics is really local.
Yeah.
I didn't realize in making that statement that it could hurt our local politicians, because I was thinking of the two parties rather than persons running for office. And so we jumped into the fray and tried to get Carol and others re-elected to office. And by the grace of God, we were successful in helping all of those who worked so hard for the brothers and sisters who were running for public office.
But, I think you've said in the past that you're not a politician, and some of these political things, statements that people make, it has to be a bit of deception in that. They could never really tell totally the truth. So do you find it still difficult in listening to politicians after they're elected, what they say they're going to do and what they end up doing when they get into office?
The problem is really not as much the politicians as it is that we as a community who elect our brothers and sisters to serve us, then we abandon them. We don't make them accountable to their community. And the more we strive for greater accountability of our public officials, the more they will answer the promises that they make or answer for the failure to fulfill these promises.
Now, are you open to receive, or to give counsel to some of these politicians who may seek counsel from you in private? I know a lot of them seek it in private now, but do you think if there were more, I think you mentioned a town hall meeting we should have on a regular basis from these politicians. Would you be willing yourself to be there as a counselor to these
Certainly. People? That is the role, I believe, of spiritual teachers. We should not be knuckled under to political forces, but we should always, as servants of God, keep reminding political office holders, thus saith the Lord. And by giving that kind of spiritual advice and strength, we help to keep our politicians on a road that is in the best interest of the people whom they serve. We hope in the next 2 years to register as many of our brothers and sisters who are unregistered, particularly between the ages of 18 and 30, And as we move throughout the country to register our people to vote, we are also going to craft an agenda that we believe is in the best interest of our people. That agenda will have input from our own scholars, and we intend to have Hispanic and Arab and Asian people look at the agenda. There are aspects of it that will be specific to us, but it will have a universal application, so we can take the disaffected Democrats, Republicans, and independents and create a third political force, and then put an agenda before the nominee of the Democratic and Republican and independent parties, and see how they address an agenda that is in the best interest of the masses of the people.
You know, our callers are filled up, but I just want to ask you one other question before we begin to take callers. Now, you're going into your 44th year in this work of the redemption of our people, and you've represented the Honorable Elijah Muhammad all of these years. And many of the brothers and sisters who started off with you, Jeremiah Shabazz is not here anymore, Tariq Hamza, Brother Emmanuel is gone, and many of the pioneers who were unable to really make it, in my opinion, after the departure of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. What is it that you think we should do to be able to tap those talents, those who are still alive, you know, to work on the agenda that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us?
Well, first, let me say that all of these brothers that have departed from us and sisters who made a great contribution to Islam and Islam's development in North America have to be remembered by us, revered, and honored by us. Not only those who have passed away, but all of those who helped the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to lay the foundation that these new Muslims are standing on. As new Muslims, they should know the pioneers. They should know the history and the suffering of these early warriors for Islam. And so hopefully, this coming Savior's Day in February, I would like to bring to Chicago all of the ministers and laborers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Whether they agree with Farrakhan or not is irrelevant. These brothers and sisters have made a sacrifice that we are standing on today, particularly the members of the family of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I would hope that we could bring them all together and pay them honor and tribute for the work that they did that gave us the foundation that we stand on today.
Okay, callers, this is my last question. But as you know, Kwame Ture is in the final call. He lives on. And there's a memorial as we speak, or it was earlier today. And I read his words in the November 5th letter that he wrote. And I don't know about you and the audience, but, you know, especially since this time of atonement that you have spoken so much of the last 3 or 4 years, I look at Kwame Ture, a man who was his last breath. I mean, to write a letter like that and to say his first official act was to meet with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, and it was therefore ordered for his protection and his incarnation in Minister Louis Farrakhan, which I, to be very honest, I always loved this brother and appreciated him, and he was one of the most honest brothers that I saw, selfless brothers. But I want to know, do the Muslims who followed the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and follow him realize, you know, what he said, you know, and I mean, acknowledging this man, you know, it just seemed to me that it was just profound, and it touched me greatly. And I just wanted to know your response.
When I got that letter, I could not read beyond the first paragraph. Kwame Ture was and is a giant. And in this article, in the present edition of the Final Call, I quoted from the Quran, "Speak not of those who die or are slain in the way of Allah as dead. They are alive, but you perceive not." Kwame Ture lived for the principles that undergird the universe and its order. These principles are freedom, justice, and equality. Obedience to these principles is Islam. And even though Kwame Ture never said he believed in Allah and was a follower of the Prophet Muhammad or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, yet he loved Islam and he loved the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He loved the work of the Nation of Islam, but Kwame was really our political guru. And we just have lost a great friend and a great soldier in the cause of the liberation of African people and oppressed people the world over. I also gave that same order that we should protect Kwame wherever he went. And in his last days, it was a Muslim by his side, follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And when he called me, he said on Kwame's last day, which was last Sunday, Kwame asked the brother to pray for him. And when the brother finished praying, Kwame gave him some instructions to carry out. And when the brother left Brother Kwame to go and carry out these instructions, Brother Kwame died. And all up to the very last moment of that brother's life, he was offering counsel, guidance, admonition, rebuke, exhortation to all of us to stay on the case of an African or black united front.
Thank you. Okay, callers. William, you're on the air.
Hello, brother minister. Hello, Munir.
Okay, hi, how are you?
Okay, I got two questions in the comment. My first question to the minister, since you went on a world friendship tour, did you develop any economic relationships? And my second question is the nation involved in any new economic development program? And my comment is, you know, brother minister, you hear a lot of talk about so-called slavery in Sudan. And I've seen a film, and those people that they say are Arab are really black people with Arab blood. They never say they're mixed race people. They always want to say Arab. And you have a lot of people here on this crusade that Arabs are enslaving black people when they're really mixed race people.
Thank you.
Thank you, William.
I will start with your second question first. The Sudanese people are black people from the north and the south. Some in the north are mixed with Arab blood, and therefore they have various hues and colors as we do. And when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was in the Sudan, in fact, he traveled in Africa and the Middle East, he said the people closest to us were the Sudanese people. Now, I heard of this charge of slavery. I have been going in and out of the Sudan for maybe the last 12 years. I met President Numeri, who was a great friend of the government of the United States. I never heard of slavery. When Numeri was overthrown, his successor was President Suare Dahab. I met President Suare Dahab. I never heard of slavery. At the same time, there was a Muslim brother named Sadiq al-Mahdi who was to take over from President Suare Dahab. And when I met with Sadiq al-Mahdi at his home, there were brothers from the south, brothers from the north. I never once heard the question of slavery. After Sadiq al-Mahdi became the president, and then a coup toppled him, and General Bashir became the president, and there was a Muslim scholar who is now like the Speaker of the House there. I'll call his name in a minute. But I went on a peace mission to bring peace between the North and the South. I went to Ghana and I met with President Rawlings and we called President Kaunda, former president of Zambia, and we flew straight away to Kenya, where President Kaunda, met us in Kenya. And we met with President Arap Moi, who was then presiding over a group of nations trying to get peace between the North and the South. We got the blessings of President Arap Moi, and we flew to Uganda and met with President Museveni, and then I had a 4.5-hour meeting with Brother John Garang, who was the leader of the faction that was fighting the government in Khartoum. In the 4 hours that I talked with John Garang, not one time did the issue of slavery ever come up. The war in the South against the North was never about slavery. It was about the fact, in their perception, that the government in Khartoum never equally distributed the resources of the Sudan in the South. And there is this idea that Islam and Arabism is an enemy to the brothers and sisters in the South, many of whom are Muslim, many of whom are Christian, most of whom are called animists. And so the war never was involved with slavery. And I never saw any slaves while I was in the Sudan. I read these reports, and I personally talked to President Bashir about it. And of course, I am free to bring scholars and newspaper reporters to the Sudan to go into these areas where they say they captured slaves. But I think personally we owe it to ourselves not to publish falsehoods or lies mixed with truth that would aid the enemy. Most of the time, these enemies have used this question of slavery then to attack me and the Nation of Islam, saying that Louis Farrakhan is backing slavery in the Sudan, which is absolutely ridiculous. Anybody that thinks this, I would be glad to try and make arrangements for you to go to the Sudan to see for yourself. Now, about economic initiatives, I want to say that the World Friendship Tour produced friendship with African, Middle Eastern, and Asian countries. And there are absolutely economic initiatives going on even as we speak that I am not able at this time to bring to you. But by the help of God, within the next month or 6 weeks, I will be able to make known these economic initiatives and the great benefit that the World Friendship Tour will bring, not just to Muslims, but to the black community as a whole.
Okay. FX, you're on the air.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa
Walaikum salam.
I in referencing to Brother Kwame Ture, if I'm correct, he died of prostate cancer. And my concern is, if I remember correctly, Brother Minister, you were having difficulties with that disease, and I just want to know, my concern is, how are you doing with your health?
Thank you very much for your question. It's strange. In Kwame's letter, Kwame felt that the FBI was using biological or germ warfare in an induced cancer to our brother. A sister that I know had some sort of a spiritual experience where she saw some Caucasian men in a room speaking of Louis Farrakhan. And they were saying that everything they had planned against me had failed, but one thing they knew, that this next plan would not fail. And what is interesting to me, 8 years ago, I learned that I had cancer. And around the same time, Kwame Ture learned it. I was unaware of that. I went immediately to fight against it. Unfortunately, Brother Kwame did not fight it then as he should have or could have, and unfortunately it got a terrific grip on him from which unfortunately he never was able to overcome. Thanks to Almighty God, Allah, my last doctor's appointment was in October of this year, and I'm very happy to say that my PSA, which is the specific antigens in the blood that will determine whether you have a problem with the prostate, the normal is 4.0, and my PSA was 0.2. So I think by the grace of Allah, we have beaten it, but we all have to be vigilant with what we eat and the water we drink and who feeds us.
You know, recently they've been doing something on restaurants, and you've always stated that we should be careful in these restaurants that we eat, and even when you travel, you're selective about your food. I mean, what do you say to people who are in leadership roles, or people in general, about eating out a lot without?
Well, eating out is okay. We just need to be sure that the kitchens are clean and that people observe the guidelines for healthy preparation of food, not only in restaurants, but in our own homes, in our own kitchens. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that cleanliness is not next to godliness, it is godliness. And he took away from us aluminum pots and pans, and he gave us stainless steel, where we knew that the particles of aluminum that get in and poison the bloodstream and then go to affect the brain, we could escape that by the right type of utensils with which to cook and a very clean kitchen.
Okay. Bruce Crosby, you're on the air.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
Walaikum
salam.
salam.
Yes, sir. I just want to thank the minister for all he's done, particularly on setting us straight and giving us some vision on the international level. I am concerned that we need you even more so on the local level as citizen Farrakhan, if you would say. Tomorrow, we're going to start the effort to end plantation politics in Chicago when Congressman Bobby Rush announces his campaign for mayor at 10 a.m. at the McCormick Hyatt. I hope that you can be there, Brother Minister, to stand with Congressman Rush. We need you not for 1 week. We need you for the next 101 days. And I believe with the blessings of Allah, if you're there and you're standing with Congressman Rush for the next 101 days, on February 23rd, he will be elected to mayor of the city of Chicago, and we can go a long way ending plantation politics here, and we can show it as an example for the world. Now, I don't know if he's called you to be with him, and he didn't call me to be with him. I'm calling you to join me and others as we stand with him to end plantation politics here in Chicago.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you very much. Hopefully I'll get a chance to sit and talk with Congressman Rush in the not-too-distant future. You can expect our help in registering our people to vote. I'm not only appealing to our young people who are unregistered. I intend to go into all of the projects in Chicago. I intend to sit with the young people that are called gangbangers. I want to talk about the benefit that can accrue from political involvement, but not plantation politics ever, ever again. And we intend to do this throughout the United States of America. We have to impact on the budget of this city. If the budget of this city is over $4 billion, how much of that budget is being spent on quality education, health care, and the needs of the poor, the black, the Hispanic in this city? How many contracts are going to black brothers and sisters who are qualified? Since we are a 50% or maybe more of the population of Chicago, we have to have input on every level of what is going on. And this is why I'm not satisfied, Brother Bruce, that we get people in positions of power, but that we must back these positions of power to empower those whom we send, that they can bring back not the bacon, but the lamb to the black community. Okay. So I pray that God will bless us to be successful in this effort.
Okay. Tony, you're on the air.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Minister Farrakhan and Minister Manure. How you doing, brothers? My question is twofold. Number one, as you may or may not know, Minister Farrakhan, Dr. Frederick K. Price is publicly attacking the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And my question number one is, has he either contacted you or the Nation of Islam before he came to the conclusion about the teachings? And number two, do you plan on having a response or a rebuttal, either publicly or privately, with Dr. K. Price about these allegations? Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, Reverend Price has not contacted me, and to the best of my knowledge, he has not contacted any member of the Nation of Islam. Many of our brothers, or some at least, in the ministry have written to Reverend Price, not in an antagonistic or ugly way, but to sit and talk with him about his misunderstanding of the book, Message to the Black Man in America. He has not desired to talk with any of us. But let me say this to the Muslims who are watching. As a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said to me this. He said, brother, if they took out a full-page ad in the newspaper and cussed me out word for word and line by line, he said, they would not hurt me, they would only help me. And before he departed from us, he gave me this parable. He said, brother, there once was a donkey that fell in the ditch. And everybody that came by picked up a stone and threw it at the donkey. And they threw so many stones till they filled up the ditch and the donkey walked out. He said, remember, brother, every knock is a boost. I know that Reverend Price thinks he's hurting us. But any time a man of his stature would take message to the black man and put it before the world and quote from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching and then try to undermine or defeat it, I guarantee you, brother, he's doing more good for us than many of us are doing for ourselves. So please, brothers, don't attack Reverend Price. Reverend Price is really not the enemy. I personally believe that you should look for the hidden hand that's behind our brother. And that hidden hand is twofold. One, there are some white Christians who hate the fact that black Christians and Muslims came together to call the Million Man March into reality. Many of these Christians were so upset that black Christians and black Muslims and black nationalists came together to make that march what it was. And they determined from that day, never again should black Christians and black Muslims work together to solve the problems of the suffering of our people. And so the 700 Club began to attack Brother Farrakhan right after the Million Man March. And so now Reverend Price, who has great stature among Christian believers and a wonderful preacher of the gospel, has now been lifted. And as long as he preached Jesus, he never was on the cover of Emerge magazine. But the moment he's seen as attacking us, he's put on the cover of a black magazine because they're trying to raise the brother as an alternative to Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. And they are hoping that some Muslims would attack that brother so that they could drive the wedge between Christians and Muslims who are black, that we will never unite for the advancement of our people. I thank Reverend Price for whatever he said, because now people are asking all over the country for message to the black man in America.
You know, Brother Minister, as you can see, everybody wants to speak to you, and I know your answers are long, and this segment is an hour, you know, and they really want to speak to you, and I want to speak to you. And I spoke earlier of your 44 years of experience. That's what I call it, in your wise counsel in that, because I said that for a moment, but I must admit I did say a few things privately about Reverend Price that I didn't say publicly. But I'm concerned about Essence magazine. And I see Sister Sharice Muhammad wrote a very beautiful article, because Susan Taylor, she knows you, and she knows the work of the Nation of Islam, and I know that perhaps she can't control every thought that goes into the writer's head, but to lump the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in a recent article, just to use his name, no real content of it, you know, I mean, do you think publicly that people, if they make these mistakes, as the sister said in the public, that they should at least give an apology for
Of course. Yes. Of course. She has been written by many of us. We have not heard a response as yet. But again, you know, our people write and speak out of their ignorance. Mm-hmm. They don't know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They don't know the Holy Quran. They don't know the book that you should use to judge him. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to judge a man, judge him out of the book that he said is the guide that he followed. Mm-hmm. And since Susan probably never has read the Quran, and the young lady who used him in his name in such an unkind way doesn't know anything about what this man has done for black women, and to say the things that she has said is just ignorance. And when a person is ignorant, you don't beat them, you teach them.
Okay, very good. Edward, you're on the air with Brother Minister.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Minister.
Wa alaikum salam.
Brother Minister, I was going to ask the same question about Reverend Price, but you answered from me. But my main thing is that only reason why he's saying this is to try to bring you down and us down. Because one thing the teaching has taught me is taught me how to conquer self, because he that conquers self is greater than he that conquers a city. And one thing about this teaching that has been given to me is lifting me up higher, and I'm seeking knowledge within self. And so what Reverend Price is talking about, this is just my opinion, he really don't know self and he don't know God totally, because he's still teaching half-truth. Assalamu alaikum.
May I say this, brother? There's a scripture in the Bible that says this: it's not what goes in that defiles the man, it's what comes out. Reverend Price can never bring you down or me down or the nation down by what he says. I literally smile because tomorrow that same man is going to be one of the great followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You will see no man can study message to the black man and be the same. I'm really glad he's reading the book. And one day, I believe, we're going to be blessed to sit down and talk with our brother. And like Paul on the road to Damascus, he will have a real great conversion experience. And you notice he's starting to talk real black, you know. And he wasn't talking like that before he read Message to the Black Man. So something has affected our brother. Leave him alone. He's doing all right. He's making some steps. Let's encourage him. I'll tell you this too. You know, there was a man that wrote in the New York Times about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he wrote so bad about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the early 70s. I was the minister in New York. We were going to go and visit him, and I'm ashamed to say, Paul Delaney, we were going to beat him up. And then I happened to call the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and listen to his words to me, because I was fired up and angry. He said, brother, what paper did you say that was? I said, the New York Times, dear apostle. He said, and who was on the front page? I said, you, sir. He said, and who was on the front page with me? I said, President Nixon, sir. He said, Pharaoh and Moses on the same page. He said, brother, what new agenda do you know that gets on the front page of the New York Times and he has not killed or raped somebody or jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge? He said, go and thank the man for the article that he wrote, and maybe tomorrow he'll write a better one. So that's a principle that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave to me when I was a zealous young Muslim who would have hurt myself trying to hurt Paul Delaney. Don't worry about Reverend Price. Let's go on and do the work of the resurrection of our people. And every time we take a dope addict out of the street and clean him up, clean up a young man in prison, clean up a young black woman, put families together, unite our people, set up businesses and economic development. How in the world can Fred Price talk about the good work that we are doing? Keep on doing good, and let's not get off the post. Elijah Muhammad said, fight with truth and unity.
Very good. Robert, you're on the air.
Good evening to both of you gentlemen, Minister Farrakhan and Brother Munir. I'm a supporter of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, and I'm a supporter of Minister Farrakhan. When I see the remark that you made on Meet the Press concerning Reverend Jackson gathering African Americans, delivering them to Caucasian, I find that downright disrespectful and two-facedness. Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, if I'm correct, gathered the Muslim brothers to start to vote and to put their vote together for a good cause. I'm very proud of the work that you do when I see that the way you help brothers and sisters, Minister Farrakhan. But I think it's wrong when you get on national TV and try to pull another brother down like Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. This man has worked tirelessly trying to help African Americans and black folks all over the world. And I see no need for you to stoop to that level. You're a man that have done very good. I followed the Honorable Elijah Muhammad going years back. I'm not a church goer, but I'm a believer in my people. But I think you would better serve yourself, not to try to pull another man down like Reverend Jackson, and continue to do the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you. I would like to answer. You know, brother, it's nothing personal with me. Reverend Jackson is my brother, and I really love him as a brother. You're right, brother. He did bring us into the political process in 1984. And what Reverend Jackson did in 1984 will go down in history, for that man helped to raise our sights and our consciousness as hardly any man in the 20th century has ever been able to do. What we got out of that, however, brother, was Ron Brown as chairman of the Democratic National Committee. We got a few persons in local offices and whatnot. And when Reverend Jackson ran again in 1988, he gathered 7 million votes and registered more people for the Democratic Party than anyone had ever done in the history. And when he bargained on behalf of those 7 million, out of it, we got Wilder as governor. He never would have been governor without Reverend Jackson. We got Dinkins as mayor in New York City. We got a host of new congressional people, sheriffs, representatives, and whatnot. But the masses of our people never really got from the Democratic Party what we deserved. So what I was saying is this: for Jesse Jackson to be put out there to run, because he will not run unless the Democratic Party agrees that it would be good for Jesse to run. And if Jesse does run, he will enliven black voters and get people registered to vote. And he will raise issues that nobody else will raise. But at the end of the day, what will the masses of black people get for our having supported our brother? What I'm concerned with is not knocking Reverend Jackson, but we cannot afford again to go into a political contest and get people in an administration that are at best powerless to bring anything out of it for the masses of our people. And this is why we are concerned now that an agenda be crafted that will be in the benefit of the masses. We put SB in, right? SB's gone. Donna,
the Labor Secretary, she's under investigation.
She's under investigation. Cisneros, gone. The lady that he put in from Arkansas is as a Surgeon General, gone. Then Clinton turns around, brother, and betrays the vote of black people. We lost affirmative action under him. We had welfare reform under him. We had this horrendous crime bill under him. I mean, look at what we have lost under his administration. So what I'm suggesting is, don't use Reverend Jackson as a stalking horse to get black people to register to vote and then turn us over to Gore. For what? We must present them with an agenda that's in the best interest of our people. And in closing, let me say, I have no interest in pulling my brother down. I can't do that as a righteous man. But to criticize my brother, particularly when my brother gets in the political arena, becomes a part of that administration as an African envoy, and then backs Clinton in Clinton's bombing of the Sudan and Afghanistan, when Clinton lied to the American people to justify what he did. And for Reverend Jackson to come out and back that as his brother and a Muslim, I have a right to talk to my brother and correct my brother if my brother is wrong. And if my brother makes his error in the public, I have a right to go into that same public as he has that right to me. It is nothing personal, brother, but the game playing days for the suffering masses of our people is all over by black people in leadership. I'm warning all. You will not sell our people out and Farrakhan lay sleeping. I will call you on the carpet and pull the cover off of you. Game playing is over. Our people are dying in the streets, brother, because of lack of proper leadership. And I don't want to be that kind of leader, and I don't want Reverend Jackson to be that kind of leader either.
Thank you. Paris, you're on the air.
Great note, Minister Farrakhan. And I would just like to say that Reverend Jackson doesn't hesitate to criticize you in public every chance he gets. Right. And secondly, brother, and I'm glad that you mentioned about pulling the cover off of leaders. And I want to ask you, I've heard some talk from some brothers that you were planning to meet with Prince RCL and Maurice Perkins, Gator Bradley, and Reverend Martin, and some of the others who supported the Bridgeport 3 and their attack on Leonard Clark. I think that if you were planning to meet with them in private, I think it should be in public. And on the second note, I'm planning to host an award ceremony at your restaurant for some of the people who were involved in their support of our struggle in the case of Leonard Clark, in the case of Tina Olison getting her child back, and also in the case of those two young brothers in Inglewood who were accused of murder And there were some warriors who stood forward and stepped out there and put themselves on the line to protect those people. So I'm planning an award ceremony, so I would find it disheartening for you. And I know that they tried to drag you in it in the beginning, and you didn't get involved in it. So if you're going to chastise them, I think it should be in public as well. Thanks,
please,
I thank you, brother.
Let me answer. So, Prince Asiel has been a fighter for our people, as well as B. Herbert Martin, Gator Bradley. I don't know Maurice Perkins. But this has created a rift in the leadership family. And I was asked by Prince Asiel if I would intercede with himself and Reverend Al Sampson, with himself and the community. And I thought that he should sit with Lou Palmer, with Eddie Reed, with Reverend Al Sampson, and with with Cliff Kelly, and let them put the charges before our brothers, and let them answer the charges. And then, if in the spirit of atonement we find them in error, we don't want to destroy our people simply because they have erred. But in erring, they have to atone for that. And if they have erred on the part of supporting an effort to deny justice to Leonard Clark and the terrible beating that he took, then they ought to come before the community and atone for that. But I think I should like to hear myself what the charges are and give them a chance to respond to those charges, and then let them come before their community. Because in order for us to be successful, we're going to have to find a united front. And I want to appeal on behalf of all of us. You know, we have to weigh what people have done on behalf of the community when they err. And if their record is heavy on the side of fighting well for our community, we cannot destroy them on a mistake or error that they've made, but they have to atone for that error or that mistake. And it's the same, again, with a former caller, with myself and Reverend Jackson. I really want our people to know I love that brother. He's one of the greatest minds that we have had in this century. But I want Reverend Jackson and myself to be able to sit down and think and plan and work for the deliverance of our people. Unfortunately, I don't believe that will happen, but I believe what I'm saying in the public, maybe Reverend Jackson and I will sit down behind closed doors and come to some agreement. But in fairness, man, you know, all the good that our people do, when they mess up, we call them on it, but we don't destroy them for their wrong. Let them atone for what they've done and come on back to the community and serve.
You know, we're running out of time, but I'm going to ask those callers to stay on, and we will get a chance to talk to the minister. But I have to say, Prince Asiel is my friend, and he will be on my show next Sunday night at 7:30, and he's an international person. I'm just so sorry that it was an involvement on this local level. You ask people to get involved in things, and sometimes they end up hurting themselves. But what I've seen that man to do on the international level, in fact, he just returned from Cameroon, taking a group of black mayors and other politicians, trying to unite them in some kind of economic development. So I think that we have to look at the whole picture, as you stated. But Prince Asiel, in my opinion, is my friend, and he's a good brother, and I hope this is resolved one way or the other. And I think he did. In fact, I know he came on Cliff's show, and I think Cliff even referred to him as a friend, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway.
Well, he has always been a friend to the black community. So, and it goes with myself or Reverend Jackson or any of us. If we err, you point it out to us, but you don't destroy us because we've erred. Because if you look at all the good that we've done, any mistakes that we make, then call us on it, but never to destroy your leaders. You don't have too many like a Prince Asiel that stands so strongly on behalf of our people. So we would like to look into it and see just what the error or mistake is, or is it bad perception?
And I have to say this because Paris said that every time Reverend Jackson gets an opportunity, and I personally, due to you, have shown some restraint in this area, because I remember the Gabon tape in Africa, which I played on this show a number of times, and you were asking for a united front then, and when we get back to America, let's at least talk. I don't think anyone should be able to tell a man of that stature that he should not even talk to you. I mean, it's not just a one-way street. You've put your life on the line for him, and I don't think Reverend Jackson is responsible for all Muslims voting. He's certainly not responsible for me voting, and I think there should be some fair play. I saw you bring in the President Rollins from Ghana. You went to get Reverend Jackson. You brought him before the Million Man March, gave him a forum, and even when you were speaking, he left. You know, so I don't necessarily think that we can't criticize him in the public, but, you know, I try to show restraints, but I think fair play, I resent the caller calling, saying that you bashed him, man. I don't think you bashed him. You spoke, you answered a question, and that was not bashing. Every time I hear you, you're always talking about your love and respect for him. So I just wanted that to be known, and I've even asked Reverend Jackson that night at the Salam restaurant in reference to you. I mean, he's very good in his communicative skills, but I think he should pick up the phone and call you sometime.
Well, he always does.
Yeah, well, I want him to do more. So. Joanne, you're on the air. You're on the air, Joanne.
Assalamu alaikum.
I'm sorry about that.
Today I joined CROW and recently the Nation of Islam.
Thank you.
I desire to study and understand Islam. I met with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad when I was 13 years old. It was a very profound, uplifting, and unforgettable experience, and I greatly respect Islam. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you. May Allah bless you.
Okay, next call. I'm so sorry that we're running out of time in this segment. Jamil, you're on the air.
Yeah, I'll be brief.
Please.
In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, peace be upon those who follow righteous guidance. I think it would be, Brother Minister, I think it would serve the public and the masses of people if we were to, at some point, if you were particularly, and reflecting on the statements of Reverend Price, he seemed to have interlinked the teachings of Elijah Muhammad with the teachings of the Quran, which is over 1,400 years old. It is not a secret to those who study Islam that there are some differences in the practice and the understanding of the Quran of the Orthodox, or quote-unquote Orthodox Muslims, and the Nation of Islam. I myself practice what would be called the Orthodox way. I am not calling to try and argue any differences because I respect your right to believe what you believe. However, I think there are statements made when we say, when Muslims speak and they say...
Jamil, you're going to have to wrap up a question. I only have 2 minutes.
Okay, but when it is said what Muslims want, particularly in the final call, to the person who doesn't know better, he thinks that or accepts this as being the way for all Muslims, and that's not the case. At some point, I think we need to distinguish between the Islam as taught by Prophet Muhammad and the Islam as taught by, if you can call it Islam, or the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. We have your
question, sir. I think we have the essence of it. Please.
Thank you, brother. You know, brother, in truth, we need really dialogue.
Yes.
Because many of you who really are Muslims today, many of you are Muslims because of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You came to Islam. Whatever you think of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his message, he got you started on the road that you're traveling on. Most Muslims in America right now came through the door of the Nation of Islam. And you know, brother, it is to me ingratitude for a man that suffered and labored as hard as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad labored to lay the foundation of Islam in America, for us now to just throw him away as though this man did nothing. All the Muslims that I know, many of them came right from the ranks of the Nation of Islam. And the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has given them a deeper insight even into Prophet Muhammad and the Quran, peace be upon him. And so we need to sit and really need to talk, because I'm accepted in the Muslim world. Right. And they see me not just as a Muslim who is deluded and following some crackpot. They see me, I'm telling you in truth, they see me as the hope, not only of Islam in the West, but they see me as one who is inspiring Muslims in the East. I wish you could have been with me in Mecca last year when I went to the Al-Haram, the mosque in Mecca during Ramadan, the last 10 nights of Ramadan. I wish you could have seen the honor and the respect that I was given by the highest Muslim scholars there. These people that know Islam and believe in Islam, when I sit with them in Mecca for 3 days, I didn't deny the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but every night the scholars couldn't go to sleep because of what I was teaching and telling them from the teaching of a man that was in your midst that I really don't believe most of you understood at all. You have a habit of downgrading yourself. But Elijah Muhammad was probably the most significant Muslim in the 20th century, as time will prove by the help of God.
You know, we're just going to go out naturally because there's so much to talk about. And I know you always like to talk to these callers, so I'm going to tell them to stay on the air. And, you know, think about that. I mean, here you've traveled all over the world now. Is there any place that you have not been?
Oh, there are a few places.
But as you say, that is the key. You have not denied the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I certainly was impressed, I know when I was in Libya, to recognize Colonel Gaddafi's talk about his love and affection for Abdel Nasser as a young boy, who appreciated the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so I think when people are critical of the messenger in this teaching, they don't sit at your table. They don't see the scholars who come and talk to you and question you, and still they leave hugging and embracing you. What do you think it takes for us as a people to recognize the man that has been in our midst?
Well, I think sometimes, really in truth, it's really misunderstanding. When I went to Mecca, I sat before the Islamic scholars for 3 days. And literally, the highest ranking one of those scholars did not question me. But at the end of the 3 days, they asked him to speak. And his words were, "I have learned much from listening to our brother." This is in Mecca, among the scholars. And I never denied the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I never denied Master Farrakhan Muhammad. I spoke to them out of the Quran, the same book that all of us as Muslims believe in. And we wrangled, brother, for 3 days. And at the end of the 3 days, we bowed down in prayer together as brothers. Even though we didn't fully agree, they recognized that there was much in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that they just did not understand, but they loved and admired his work.
Now, are my callers still there? Liddell, are you there?
I am.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes, Brother Minister, I just want to know, do you have a website set up whereby you could disseminate information to the brothers and sisters as well as encouraging them to come into the 21st century with the rest of us?
Yes. The Nation of Islam does have a website, and we hope to expand it and increase what we do on that website to bring guidance as best we can to all of our people on internet.
I was thinking it was in the final call. I have to look for it. Okay, we have another caller. And you don't mind taking it? Okay. Lee, you're on the air. Hello, Lee. Did you leave me, Lee? What about Perry? Perry, you're on the air.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you have a question?
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Munir.
Wa alaikum salam.
And Brother Minister.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm on the air, and I just want to say to Minister Farrakhan, I did study in the mosque for about 18 weeks. And I'm also a Christian minister, which I was before I came to the mosque. And before the final receiving a Muslim name, I had to come to grips with the term that Allah neither begets nor is he begotten. And the term in the Bible that says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. So I couldn't make that transition because to me it was a giant leap of faith. At the same time, I have this great affection for the Nation of Islam and for Minister Farrakhan and for the gospel. And one thing that I heard Minister Farrakhan say once, he said a person can be a Christian and a Muslim if he knew how. And to me, I believe that to me it means that basically underneath the teachings of Jesus and the teaching of Master Farad Muhammad is the compulsion that we must love one another. And that was the theme of Jesus, and to me that's the theme of Islam. We ought to love one another and obey God.
Let me, my dear brothers, say a few words to you on this. It says in the Quran, Allah neither begets nor is he begotten, and there is none like him. I think this is the 112th surah of the Holy Quran. Yet in the New Testament of Christianity, we have a reference to Jesus as the only begotten Son of God. Now, how do we reconcile these two scriptures and come out with understanding that does not divide us? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that God did not father Jesus physically. The sperm that made the physical body of Jesus Christ came from a real live human being. But Jesus was fathered into the spirit, word, wisdom, and mission, not by any physical father. He was fathered into that by God himself. And in fathering Jesus into the word, into the mission, into his spirit, he's the Father, Jesus is a son. But in Islam, we don't use the term son like I am a father and I have sons and I know what I had to do to create or produce sons. God had no such relationship with Mary, and you know that all physical flesh is produced from sperm. So there had to be a sperm. When you say God can do what he pleases, of course he can, but he does not violate his own laws. So the scripture says Jesus was declared to be the Son of God according to the Spirit of holiness. For only God can father the spirit of holiness in an individual. In that sense, we who are fathered into the Spirit of God are his sons. But God does not have any physical sons. He has not gone around in a physical relationship with some woman in Palestine to produce a flesh and blood son. God comes into us after we are born into this world the way all human beings are born, and nobody can become a son except by the Spirit of God and by the will of God. So I hope that you won't fall away from that, because he neither begets nor is begotten. No, the wisdom of God is not that which is physical to beget. We are begotten of the Spirit of God.
You know, it's so much that we need to talk about. Time will not always permit it, but I'm going to try and take a couple of these calls, and we'll do this at another time. Linda, you on the air?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
All right, I can't hear you well, but you can hear me.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum, Minister Farrakhan and Brother
Walaikum
Munir.
salam.
Yes, 3 comments, please, for you to consider, Minister Farrakhan. I know you love Jesse Jackson, but I was told that it was written in the Muhammad Speaks years ago that after speaking with the messenger, Jesse Jackson, after speaking with him, the messenger said that Jesse would never accept Islam or the teachings. Just consider that. Just remember that. And then I want to say that Prince Asiel, I know he's your friend, Minister. He was my friend. Well, I consider him my friend. And yours too, Munir. But always remember, you're correct about we should weigh like the good that they've done and don't tear them down. But we must update people's positions on things. Because sometimes when they're paid by our enemy, we must look at that and deal with the timing now. Because I was in a meeting with Prince Asiel, and it was Christians, Muslims, and everyone. I'm a Muslim, and he knows I follow you. He said to Sister Vicky X in his place in the meeting, he said to her, when are you going to, and she was dressed all in the garb, he said, when are you going to come around to the right religion? But he didn't say this to the Christian woman or anyone else. It was like he was mad at you during the time of the first Million Man March. And thirdly, I would like to say, when Bruce Crosby called and want you there the whole 101 days, I'm glad you didn't answer like you would be there, because Bobby Rush, even though he apologized once when I questioned him, we need to know that he was not sent to keep us from getting a black mayor, because him, Tim Evans, and Dorothy Tillman all stopped us from getting a black mayor, and they were paid to do it. So we have to be proven that even if he's atoning, show us he's atoning. He never spoke of you before this election. He never gave any comments on your behalf.
Okay,
so I don't
Linda,
think they need to pimp off the Muslims. We can register, but they're trying to...
You've said an awful lot, dear. You've said an awful lot. And we'll take it all into consideration, I'm sure. We have a couple of calls, but please.
I would just like to say, the scripture said all the bones did live. And it is our hope that Reverend Jackson will be as God intends for him to be. He is a great man, and he's done great things that all of us have benefited from. And I'm not here to harm Reverend Jackson. If he criticizes me and his criticism is based in truth, I benefit from that. It helps me to straighten myself up. If I criticize my brother out of that same spirit of love, and my brother straightens himself up, then we have a great ally in the struggle for justice. I don't want anybody listening to me to think I have some axe to grind against Reverend Jackson or any black leader. I don't like to be looked at like that, but I think it's time now for me to be as critical of them on behalf of our people as they have been critical of me, not on behalf of our people, but for other reasons.
That's right. You know, look, Brother Minister, as we have a few other callers, but this is something I wanted to get in. You know, you've said that, you know, you've worked outside of America and you've worked with an awful lot of people, and you were going to come home and work among the Muslims to strengthen the Muslims. And I recently spoke with Imam Muhammad, who acknowledged to me that there were some kind of, we assimilated and we kind of lost the foundation we had. I mean, this was an acknowledgement via phone. We were thinking about doing a show, but we did not do that. And do you think that we, as followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, sometimes that we take away from the foundation that we have in favor of others who, in my opinion, may even be weaker than we are? We have an awful lot of information. I mean, you said to me, and an interview that I saw in Jamaica when one was questioning you, the press person trying to get you to deny the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and when you finish with this guy, and I think that most people who don't hear you talking as you used to talk, as you talk from the zealous kind of point, you talking from a unified point today because you recognize that the harm that is being done, when we argument, just as you heard the sister make those remarks about Prince and others. But how do we strengthen us to understand that we still can deal with people, but not give up of ourselves if we're dealing with the truth? Did I ask you a lot?
No.
Okay.
I think I understand the statement.
Let me, before you answer, let me say, for an example, just as you were talking to this man in Jamaica, I mean, you were going around the world with him, but the moment he began to try to attack the foundation of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as some make-believe, I mean, you turned on a dime and began to show him how small he looked. I guess that's what I'm saying. Are we equipped with the foundation to defend the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with equal strength as you did in that interview?
The teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad were and are absolutely profound. Our understanding of those teachings is limited.
Okay.
The more we understand his teachings, it is a foundation upon which or from which we can deal with the scholars no matter where they come from. I never get off of my base, even though to some they may think so.
That's right. Yeah.
But that base of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I argue with scholars in the Islamic world. And when we wrangle over aspects of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching, they don't budge me. And I think I have helped them to see him better. Mm-hmm. So I think it behooves all of us as students who are students of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to study his teachings more deeply and not be afraid to delve deeply into his message. Like there are some that believe in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but they're afraid to go deeper than what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. And when I talked with him one day, I regurgitated the history of Jesus as he had taught it. And when I got to the house, he had the tape, and it was marked in red. And he put it on the desk, and he said to me, "Brother, I don't want you teaching the teaching as I taught it 40 years ago. I want you to give the meaning of this." Well, now what held us 40 years ago is not going to hold us today. There's depth in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad given by Master Farrakhan Muhammad that sink all the way down into the root of wisdom and the root of the creation of the universe. So if we're going to be little surface dwellers, sitting around talking about what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, but are frightened to pull it apart and dig into it and extract from it what is in it, then we will always be surface dwellers And we'll end up like the followers of Marcus Garvey and other people. We'll end up sitting around in little groups with 2 or 3 people talking about how great the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not only was great, he's greater today and will be greater tomorrow. It is we who have to study our assignment and master it. Then the Holy Quran and the Bible and all these scriptures open up before us, and we'll be able to talk to the entire world.
You know, you did a tape once, and which I thought that the whole world should watch. You were speaking at the Lions Club, and I played this on cable as often as I could. And you took the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching, educated these people in the room who I've seen black people get more upset with you for some of the things that you were saying to them. But they received this teaching. But there are people, and as you say, the foundation of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is firm. You know, I mean, I don't see anybody ever moving him. And the Holy Quran talks about the word having many connections. You make that word come alive. But I'm talking about the emotional follower who would love, and I've heard you say this, would love to emulate you, you know, and what they think in terms of, or what we think in terms of your ability to communicate well, but not go into the genetic engineering all over again. The white man is the devil, that kind of thing. You know, the elementary part that they refer to the messenger.
I was teaching in New York the other day, brother, and I mentioned to the audience that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told me not to use the term devil. This is before he left. Use the term Satan, he said, the enemy and the slave master's children. And I never was smart enough to say, why, dear apostle, you've called him the devil all these years. Now you don't want me to use this terminology? And as I studied those 3 words, Satan, the enemy, slave master's children. But Satan comes first. Then, you know, when I began to study these things, I really began to see that the nature of God and the nature in which we are created, we have both of these fellas sitting right up inside of ourselves. You can't say that God is the creator and then deny that if he's the creator and the only creator, then where did the devil come from? Came from God. Well, what is the root of devil? It comes out of us and our thinking. Look, I don't want to go into that. That's another whole teaching. But my point is that when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted me to use Satan rather than devil. See, devil can be anybody who is grafted mentally or spiritually. Anybody that's wicked is a devil. Not the devil, a devil, but Satan. Now that fella, that's the baddest dude on the planet next to God. And until and unless we can mount up on wings and defeat the origin and maker of devils, then we are not going to see the kingdom of God come in. And that's where we got to go today, man. We can't just be around here looking at white people saying that's a devil. You got to be able to recognize where he came from. And if the 59,999 black people were with Yaqub, and then out of us came this, then the same essence out of which a devil was made is still sitting up inside of you. So if we all in a room together and hell breaks out, ain't no white man in here. So where did the hell come from? And unless you can check the devil of yourself, you ain't doing nothing. If you check the devil of yourself, then you can whip the devil outside of yourself, because he only comes in on the weakness of self.